fall. An icy breath consumes it all. Monsters rise, the weak must call. We fight the blight, we hold the line, with hearts of fire, a strength divine. Oh Fandolin, you will not fall, we'll rise above, we'll stand so tall. The dragon roars, its fury cold. The mountain shakes, its grip takes hold. But faith is stronger than its gold. Oh, hear us sing, our voice is true. We'll push the dark, we'll make it through. We fight the blight, we hold the line, with hearts of fire, a strength divine. Oh Fandolin, you will not fall, we'll rise above, we'll stand so tall. The dragon so tall. The dragon roars, its fury cold. The mountain shakes, its grip takes hold. But faith is stronger than its gold. Oh, hear us sing, our voice is true. We'll push the dark, we'll make it through. We'll make it through. We fight the blight, we hold the line, with hearts of fire, a strength divine. Oh Fandolin, you will not fall, we'll rise above, we'll stand so tall. The tread so tall. The ice may freeze, but hearts ignite. With every prayer, we light the night. The people stand, their spirits fight. Oh, 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 oh. We'll rise above.
Let's try this one, why not?
They call me to ruler the barbarian king, swinging my axe like a pendulum sting. Wars in the shadows that scatter and flee. Carve my name in your destiny. Steel in my hands, blood in the dirt. The screams are my anthem, the pain my concert. My great axe will be your pain. Split the night and cleave the chain. By day I slay, by night I reign. And feel your thread, feel the pain. The screams are my anthem, the pain my concerts. My great axe will be your pain. Split the night and cleave the chain. By day I slay, by night I reign. And feel your thread, feel the pain. I roll the dice on the tavern floor. Hell in my veins, but I'm craving more. Deception and charm are my favorite tools. Looking like a king while I bend the rules. By the firelight, I'm a wrong in disguise. But don't test my blade or you'll meet your demise. My great axe will be your bane. Split the night and cleave the chain. By day I slay, by night I reign. And feel your thread, feel the pain. Feel the pain. Feel the pain.
What's up? How y'all doing? Welcome in. All right. So it's what day is it? It's Monday, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's a random Monday, and I'm hanging out here with you in the early afternoon, to talk about, it's kind of like whatever. Honestly, I didn't have a very strict or rigid agenda for today, but there's a few things coming up that we can talk about. For instance, on Wednesday, in this coming Saturday, there will be D&D sessions, so be sure to show up for that. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We like to do D&D. We screw around and have some fun, and pretend to be magical adventurers in a magical land, to escape the mundanity of life, and all of the horrific things that keep fucking happening. Also, we had Kamala Harris released a book recently. I don't know if anybody knew about that. Trump is sending California and Texas National Guard all over the damn place. And Steven Crowder is out there still doing, the change my mind stuff. So I thought maybe we could take a look at the second part from his Methodist University appearance. That might be worth looking at. Kamala Harris's book I don't really care about. But also, just whatever comes to folks' minds. Another person I might like to talk about is Metatron. So Metatron is a bigger YouTuber than I would call him a big YouTuber. I'm sure he would, look at some people like PewDiePie and shit and say like, nah, I'm not big. What are you talking about? But he kind of made his name just studying history, particularly like ancient European history, quite a bit. But after Charlie Kirk, that's changed a lot. So most of his content has become politically focused at this point. And honestly, I think most of his takes are like super based. It's been refreshing. A lot of times when people who tend to avoid politics end up sticking their toes in it, they make asses of themselves. But not in this case. So I've been genuinely impressed and thoroughly interested to see this new turn from Metatron. So I may take a look at some of that, and then also I may open up the panel here in a little bit for anybody who's willing to come in and have a chat in reasonable terms, of course. But yeah, man. So I don't know. That's kind of what I've got on the agenda for the evening. Suppose we should probably start with the most controversial thing that the president has been doing, which would be sending in troops to Oregon and Illinois in order to try to quell the political uprisings that are happening there. There was the incident not too long ago with a shooting on an ICE van, which apparently did not have any windows, and the shooter was apparently motivated by political motivations to attack ICE officers. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into this and just take a look at what the news is saying about Trump sending in National Guard troops to freaking Oregon State.
State of Illinois and City of Chicago have now filed a lawsuit to block President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard.
Christian Cordero is in Washington following the developing story.
Outside of federal buildings in Oregon and Illinois, protesters are coming.
Oh, is it just me or did that get like super duper quiet?
Face to face with federal law enforcement over the Trump administration's escalating ICE raids and National Guard deployments.
This is not a war zone!
In Chicago, the clashes led to federal agents deploying tear gas, shooting rubber bullets, and arresting protesters over the weekend. A 30-year-old woman was shot and injured by a Border Patrol agent Saturday after Department of Homeland Security officials allege she was armed and used her car to ram a federal vehicle.
Okay. So that's a great one we can start with right there. I mean, if it's not a war zone, then why do you keep resisting the lawful orders of police, right? Like that ultimately becomes the question, doesn't it? And people out here watching what's going on will tell you that it most certainly is a war zone.
They claimed it was defensive fire. But frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration.
For weeks, President Trump has vowed to deploy the National Guard to Chicago.
Right. So just because Trump said it, it's bad, right? This is just like the pregnant moms on TikTok taking fucking Tylenol because Trump said not to. Oh, just because it comes out of the mouth of the administration means it's immediately untrustworthy. That's the basis of their fucking argument right there.
Over political demonstrations and crime rates that local leaders dispute. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker has not complied with the president, prompting Trump to instead authorize hundreds of Guard members from Texas be sent in.
People don't care. They don't want crime in their cities, and we're doing it, and we're doing it well.
The administration.
Very true. That was actually a really base address to the Navy. There might have been, I forget exactly where he was, but he was addressing U.S. Navy personnel who were docked at someplace. I don't think it was Annapolis. It wasn't like an address to the academy or anything.
Unsuccessfully tried to use a similar strategy in Oregon over the weekend. A Trump-appointed judge blocked the president's plan to send in federal troops, siding with local and state officials in ruling the president's description of protests in Portland was simply untethered to the facts.
What are you talking about? We saw this all through 2020. They continuously firebomb and attack and quote-unquote protest and obscure traffic and obscure police operations outside the ICE detention facility in Portland, which is very well known to these people. Is very well known to everybody in the country at this point because of how much of an absolute display of ass hattery that they've put on outside of the place.
Portland police say no one was arrested during the weekend protests, adding they didn't observe any person or property crimes. Just hours after that first ruling, Oregon's Attorney General received notice that the administration is deploying the California National Guard, prompting an emergency hearing where the judge halted any troops from being deployed to Oregon, at least for now.
When the court says no, the court means no. And
as if there's no such thing as an activist judge who's overstepping his authority. Like that's never happened. Not once in the history of the United States. Huh? Never.
that is not an invocation for negotiation.
This morning, officials in Illinois filed a lawsuit trying to block the administration's deployment of the National Guard there. Christian Cordero.
Yeah. Here's the thing, okay? The court doesn't have any authority to usurp the president's authority in this particular matter. This is a matter of national emergency, right? And if the Guard has been federalized and federally deployed under the command of the president, then there isn't anything some district judge can do about it. There isn't anything a governor can do about it, right? That's the long and the short of it. But they're going to bitch and whine and moan and raise hell as much as they possibly can in order to try to block this from happening, because the last thing that they want is for the National Guard to move in and for the situation to be calmed down when people start getting arrested and people stop coming out and being violent and vandalous and protesting in illegal and unprotected manners. So, all right. In regard to the prior claim, let's see here. Yeah, this in Chicago. Well, no, yeah, Chicago. As the governor of Illinois is the fat guy. Yeah.
Today, after Department of Homeland Security officials allege she was armed and used her car to ram a federal vehicle.
Right. They allege that occurred. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this. This is Savati. Great channel, awesome memes. Definitely check them out.
Evil people. These are sick, evil people.
DHS says that CBP officers shot and wounded a woman in Chicago yesterday after, they say, she allegedly rammed a law enforcement vehicle, and agents were boxed in by multiple cars. The spokesperson for DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, accused Chicago police of leaving the scene and refusing to assist agents in securing the area. What do you know about this incident? Were federal agents boxed in and assaulted?
Well, we don't have a lot of facts. Is that so?
This is the video of. Okay, so let me try to describe what's going on here. Okay, this lady in that looks like a Cadillac with a Tahoe tailgate for some reason, but I'm pretty sure these taillights only go on Cadillacs. Anyway, this lady in the SUV is ramming this truck. Okay, the truck is actually a law enforcement vehicle. ICE agents are inside the truck. I don't believe they're transporting any detainees, but this lady apparently found out that that's an ICE truck, and so now she's attempting to, I don't even know what the point of this is, to voice her dismay at what they're doing, I guess, with the bumper of her vehicle, which. If you didn't know, a car qualifies as heavy equipment. So you can definitely kill somebody with a car, as we've seen many times before. And continues to chase these guys. Okay, so they try to flee. Continues to chase them down the road, running into the back of them constantly, right? Eventually, they stop, get out of the car, and, all hell breaks loose. Then another ICE vehicle comes in behind in order to block this vehicle from attempting to flee, and because I'm sure it's because she fled instead of trying to cooperate with the law enforcement, they probably took a shot at her. Right? There's the other ICE vehicle trying to stop him from fleeing, and that lady's she's probably been shot in the shoulder or something like that.
It can't possibly get any worse.
Gets worse. Chicago police ordered to not respond after the car ramming attack on federal agents. So after this incident occurred, okay, these ICE officers contacted Chicago PD and said, hey, we need some support down here. Okay, we've got an unruly lady in a big damn truck. She's trying to run us over. She's trying to wreck our cars. We need somebody to come out and help us arrest her. Well, there's an official communique that goes out over the Chicago PD radio that says, we are not sending anybody to respond to that. And one of the Chicago PD had the wherewithal to actually take a picture.
Is live with new reporting for us this hour. Christina.
Hi, John. Multiple federal and Chicago law enforcement sources tell Fox News that Chicago police officers were instructed on their dispatch system with this message by their chief of patrol to not respond to the ramming incident.
What's up, Mr. Alley?
Involving federal agents.
He says ice truck or ice cream truck. It's an ice truck. So a truck for immigration and customs enforcement. But yeah, this is, I'm familiar with this, having worked for the federal government. Okay, is that generally government systems are extremely basic in terms of what they look like, but that's because there's so many things in the background ensuring fail safes and ensuring that the system continues to operate despite however many technological hurdles may be placed in front of it. Right. So this, I would assume that this is legit. So it says here. 4th October, 12:34. Okay. Please, Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this as related from this message at 12:28. CS Caller is one of approximately 30 armed Border Patrol agents, ICE, who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD. That's Chicago Police. So, Chief of Patrol, don't send anybody out to respond to the ICE agents who are requesting CPD support because they're being surrounded by a large crowd of people. This is following the incident where the lady lost her mind in the SUV and tried to ram the truck. Right?
Agents outside Chicago yesterday morning. We reached out to Chicago PD for a response to this. We are waiting to hear back.
For 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
Think about that. So they have officers who are in the mix, in the midst of this chaos that's going on, where ICE is being surrounded by protesters, and they're telling them, "You're not supposed to respond to that. Don't respond to that." They're like, well, I don't know what you want me to do, man. We're kind of in the thick of it already, so we'll get out of here as soon as we can, I guess. Like, this shit is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You're playing politics with people's lives because assholes like this don't want to stand up and admit that this shit is really happening. All for the talking points, all for the politics of it. Yeah. It's fucking different, right? It's different when they do it. It's not fascism when the Illinois governor decides to allow federal agents to be overrun by unruly and unlawful activists, right?
Really hard to know exactly what the facts are, and they won't let us access.
It's really hard to know what the facts are, right? Despite the fact that we just heard the dispatch recording, we just saw the communique that went out on police scanners, and we just saw the incident with the lady ramming the immigration truck right in the middle of Chicago streets. But it's really hard because what? Because you made a FOIA request that hasn't actually gone through about what the ICE agents are doing. For fuck's sake, man. It's just pure fucking politics.
The facts, they are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
In other words,
they are just putting out their propaganda.
And we have to later determine what actually happened. That means we have to figure out how we're going to spin this to our advantage, how we're going to convince the American people that we're in the right for allowing this shit to happen to federal agents. Right? And then somehow Trump is unjustified in sending California National Guard down there to try to get a handle on the situation. It's
propaganda.
Just ridiculous.
Propaganda. Propaganda.
We're gonna go down there, right?
There's a gas explosion, kid.
Well, the gas is a sewer.
No one goes in there till we know what's down there.
We know what's down there, sir. The police commissioner.
Someone get this hothead out of here.
This time, the greatest threat is not from the outside of our country. I really believe this. It's from within. It's the people from within our country that are more dangerous than the people outside. We can handle China. We can handle Russia. We can handle all of them if you have a smart leader. But the inside people are very dangerous. They're very sick people, in my opinion, in many cases. They're sick.
Ain't that the fucking truth? Anyway, y'all definitely check out Savati and subscribe to his channel. Great memes, funny insights. It kind of helps make some of the heavy situations a little bit lighter. So I do appreciate him a lot for that. Yeah, man. It has been fucking nuts out in Chicago and out in Portland these past several days. And I had hoped that, you know, that things would calm down after Charlie Kirk, but apparently not, you know? Apparently not. They're just going to keep on doing what they're doing, and the bullshit Democrat politicians are going to keep covering for it and keep lying and keep trying to find ways to spin it to make things seem like, oh, no, we're the good guys. You know, oh, Trump being a fascist is just so terrible. Don't let them send the National Guard on us and enforce the law. No, don't let them send ICE and actually do their jobs to enforce immigration law. No, that's terrible. We can't have that. People's lives are at risk. Oh, but wait, when you have a mob of unruly activists threatening ICE agents' lives, threatening CPD's lives, you tell them, like, nah, stand down, get the fuck out of there. Don't help them, motherfuckers. Don't help them at all. We don't owe them a thing. Oh, I see how it is. Again, it's different, right? It's different when we do it. Every single fucking time. Yeah. So, while all of that is going on, there's a deeper conversation that's happening on the left, I think, right? The politicians are going to politic, as they always do. And the activists are gonna activist, as they always do. But Charles Brown says cover Portland tonight. I hear big things will happen. You should cover it. On a Monday? I doubt it. Usually it's on a Friday at midnight where all of the protests really pop off. It's when everybody wants to get rowdy. You know? They get some drink in them. And, things start to pop off a little bit more. But I did have some coverage from somebody I do like to follow named Portland Andy. I don't know if you all have ever heard of him, but he is a bass dude out of the Portland area. And there are a few of them. I believe his name is Cam Higbee. I'm probably getting that wrong. But there was a guy who used to walk the street in Portland all the time. And like alone, essentially, with nothing but a selfie stick and a sidearm, and maybe a lightweight, stab vest. And he would go into protesters, demonstrations and just film them. He wouldn't even say anything to anybody or interview anybody. He would just film them. And they would come and surround him, figure out who he is, and try to expat him from the area, right? This is another thing that ends up happening a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize my camera was all blurry and shit. That's my bad. If I turn it off and turn it back on, it usually fixes it. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. And I need to turn off the autofocus, apparently. I feel like I do that all the time, and yet it continues to be an issue. Anyway, okay, what am I trying to say? Yeah, this guy used to all the time go into areas where Portland activists were trying to put on some demonstration, and every single time they would try to excise him from the area, get rid of him. There's some dissenting voice. We can't have this guy around, right? He's a conservative. He's a conservative. Get rid of that asshole. And ultimately, what it reveals is when lefties come into right-leaning spaces and say, "I have freedom of speech. You need to let me speak because even though I'm dissenting, this is what our country stands for, right?" But when it's their spaces, they don't actually follow that rule. They do this all the time. They do it constantly. I just had a debate with Steelman last week where he was trying to make that exact argument. Like, you have to allow me to throw a fit in your chat and rile up everybody in your chat because that's a principle that you stand for, right? Yeah, but you don't, right? You'll lie and tell us that you don't even have a channel when I know better. And you'll lie and say that you come in good faith when I know better. You come in terrible faith all the time. You say the most asinine, heinous fucking shit just to try to get a reaction out of people. That has nothing to do with having a conversation. So the hypocrisy knows no bounds, okay, and the bullshit from the bullshit from the fucking politicians knows no bounds. But don't believe your lying eyes, right? So Portland Andy was restreaming this guy on a bike all night. He's smart enough not to leave his house. But this is the detention facility that I'm talking about. This was made famous in 2020 during the BLM protests. And remains so. Because they keep coming back to it. And normally on a weeknight, this is about how it goes. This is what happened last night, I'm pretty sure. So, they're sitting on the sidewalks. They're not really doing a whole lot. Shit pops off at about midnight to 1 a.m. their time. They start trying to surround the gate and obscure the gate. Well, guess what? The gate cannot be obscured. That's interfering with their ability to do their job. So they will come out and clear the gate. And when people get rowdy with them for trying to clear the gate, that's when they get arrested. Some guy spit in an officer's face. That's assault. He got arrested. You're resisting lawful orders when they tell you to back up and clear the area when you refuse to. And you're unlawfully protesting in the first place because they don't have a permit to be there. The city won't give them a permit to be there. Otherwise, the city is complicit in this shit. They can't associate themselves with it. They're hands off. And that's how they play this fucking game. Democrats are like, what are you talking about? This isn't happening. People aren't being rowdy and violent and damaging property or obscuring police activity at all. What are you talking about? But all these people are standing in the street, and again, they're blocking the entrance and the vehicle entrance into the detention center. So they are, in fact, obscuring police activity. So it's just maddening to me that this continues to go on, and the Democrat politicians, the leaders of Portland, the leaders of Oregon, the leaders of Illinois and Chicago continue to gaslight us and tell us, oh, no, that's bullshit. Don't believe that bullshit. None of that's actually happening. That's all trash, man. That's just propaganda. ICE didn't get assaulted. What are you talking about? When we just saw it with our own eyes? Chicago PD wasn't told to stand down when we just saw it with our own eyes. I mean, it's unreal that they think they can go out on CNN on national TV and convince the American people that this isn't happening when there's mountains of evidence to the contrary. So, and I like this too. They had to put an idiot line on the ground where the the federal lease on the property is actually limited. So it says no entry government property henceforth. Yeah, do not block. Yeah, and yet here they are standing in front of it, blocking it. It's amazing to me. Like, they idiot-proofed the barrier on the ground, and you morons still will not respect it. It's unreal. All right, let's take a look at a little bit of this. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
It was a Trump appointee.
Oh, and if I never had to listen to this fucking garbage ever again. Me. Go fuck yourself. Shut up. People are trying to sleep. That's an apartment building over there.
Want to smoke a joint? Good, me too.
You want a beer?
Huh?
Let me know if you're ready for a beer.
All right, after the joint, probably.
Somebody just threw a rock at me. Hit my phone. Some bitch ass motherfucker over there, some coward.
Throwing rocks at people, yeah. So there are some counter protesters out there. Like I was trying to get that across. Is that there are some based people in Oregon, in Portland even, believe it or not. Honestly, I think out in the counties, you know, out in the countryside of Oregon, you're probably going to find a lot more based people than you do in a big city like Oregon, or in a big city like Portland. But hey, what's up? We got Dobry in the chat, Charles Brown, and Emmett. It's all trash, man. It does not happen. The violence is on the right. People told me and shit. Ain't that the fucking truth, man? Ain't that the fucking truth? I was just watching another video from a guy I like to follow, but I don't think I'm going to be... I don't know if I'm going to be able to react to that one or not. Because I want... If I'm going to show somebody else's content, I want to at least do something, you know, moderately transformative with it, right? Just out of courtesy. But, okay, so Matt Christensen had a video about, the right-wing terror narrative. And he went through several studies that have come out recently and sort of blamed the right for all of the violence that happens, you know, in the past 30 years or some shit. And broke it down piece by piece and said, you know, 90% of this is bullshit, and here's why. And a lot of it boils down to how they're determining whether or not an incident is either violent or politically motivated in the first place, right? So they'll say politically motivated violence is more abundant on the right than it is on the left, but they won't tell you how they come to the conclusion as to whether or not something is politically motivated or even violent, right? And a lot of times it depends on somebody dying or somebody getting convicted. And then also they will avoid instances where, for instance, okay, so this came up in Crowder's Change My Mind too, where he was bringing up some of these studies, a CSIS study and a Cato study, where there's an incident in 2020 where a guy says, we got a Trumper over here, bang, bang, and shoots him dead in the street, point blank. And they're not counting that as politically motivated violence, right? It's like, how do you even justify saying that that's not politically motivated violence, right? Matt Christensen went over the fact that the Tesla dealerships and the Tesla cars being vandalized for, 2 or 3 months on end. That wasn't politically motivated violence because that is something else, right? And then there's the Jewish couple who in D.C., right, who were some kind of AIPAC representatives or something like that. That wasn't politically motivated violence because it was ethno-nationalist in nature. Like, excuse me? No mention of the pipe bombs on January 6th. Shit like that. But oh no, January 6th was the worst thing ever, and every time somebody, ends somebody and had a moderately right-leaning post on Twitter, then it must be a right-leaning motivated political violence incident. So they twist the facts in order to suit the narrative, and then they won't provide you, full details on the information that they've gathered or how they've striated it. And then this becomes the talking point of the left. Here's my study, bro. Where's your study? CSIS, bro. Come on. It's all on the right. What are you talking about? And those idiots won't even take 2 seconds to look into the methodology or the data behind it in order to try to justify the study itself. They don't care. This supports my conclusion, therefore it must be correct. I find that infuriating. I really do. But no, you got the Illinois governor out here telling us that video footage of the woman ramming the ice truck, okay, is propaganda. Not the CSIS study that's clearly flawed and clearly bent and clearly unfactual. But this video evidence is propaganda. Yeah. I don't know. I thought something more was going to happen here. I thought something more was going to happen over the course of the night. I know at some point they do get rowdy. The police do come out and make some arrests. Right here they are establishing a perimeter around the road and around their gate, which is what they're supposed to do. That's why it says "Do not block" in big bold letters on the ground right in front of that gate entrance. We can try to look for more stuff. If you all have any timestamps or anything from last night or from any streams from last night, let me know. But for now, like I say, it's generally on the weekends when things get super fucked up. That's just the nature of it. That is the nature of the beast. The later into the night you go, the worse it gets. Portland police show up with their billy bats and their bicycles. We're doing stuff. You can't say we're not doing stuff. Oh, bullshit. Y'all should have dispersed this entire demonstration already and arrested half of these people. But what's up, Joseph Romano? It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. All right. Let's focus on my beautiful red locks for just a second here. And clear out some tabs. It is maddening, though. It is maddening. Okay, here. This might be some good highlights right here. Let's see. This is from Memology 101, another great memes channel. Again, these guys are fantastic. Memology 101 and Savati are fantastic at just sort of aggregating and collating points of interest, I would say. particularly from Twitter for the most part, as far as I can tell. But, and ironically, I think Memology 101 is Honduran, so at least by heritage. He's a based ass fucking American, I'll tell you that. But sometimes it takes somebody with like an outside perspective to really appreciate what the country's about. Like, you know. So Antifa has laid siege to an entire city back in Portland, Oregon. Or entire city block in Portland, Oregon. They've taken control of the roads near the ICE facility in the city. Yeah. We were just looking at them doing that. Instead of removing the Antifa militants, the local police have relegated traffic control duties around the facility to them. To the protesters. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, there they are. Traffic cops on bikes. What are we, fucking Britain? Who is this asshole? That's not a police uniform. Oh, is he wearing a purse? What is wrong with these people? I swear, he's got fucking bondage pants and a reflective vest. So he's official, y'all. Oh my goodness. I can't hear it. Alright, hold on. I might be able to boost it a bit.
We're stocked up right now. Have a busy night. Lots of stuff going on here.
Right.
I just am trying to formulate a game plan.
So they have a block one from right, and this is the only way to get in there. Okay, let me go tell them that if people are trying, when they're talking to them, hey, if they're trying to go to spaghetti factory, left through. We're okay with left-hand through. Problem is, we don't know.
Well, I understand there's no permit. That's sort of the problem, I guess. But I don't know why they're allowed to control traffic as to who goes which direction.
Well, it's their event, so there's preventing people from crashing into people.
It's their event every 100 days. Okay, but they're... Okay, all right. I guess we'll find out here.
It's their event, so they get to decide where people go. That's the police chief's answer right there. Are you kidding me? No, it's a public road. Okay, they need to coordinate with the Portland PD in order to figure out where the safest and most effective way to send traffic is. It shouldn't be entirely up to the event coordinators. What's up, Level 4 Officer? It's good to see you, man.
I understand where you're coming from. It's just,
yeah, I mean, you guys are the police.
Correct, but we have a different task to do. So we can only do so much with 4 people.
But there are like 10 other cops that just went by.
Different group. Got arrested. Hey, real quick, you guys. So the spaghetti factory, this is currently their only way for customers to get in. So when you guys are talking to people, if they're wanting to go that way, can you just, if you're going to spaghetti factory, let them go to the left. But otherwise, we're now. I didn't know this was the only way they have. So. Okay, cool.
Hold on, please, can you get that? Just over the...
Apparently, look at this shit. Hey, what's up, Fire? It's good to see you. Fire says, I've been to Portland. Their PD is actually okay from what I've seen. They're around a lot, can't seem to do much. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is the mayor and the police chief will tell them, nah, stand down, don't do anything, don't respond. Meanwhile, people's cars are being vandalized. Look at this shit. Yeah. I'm gonna stop you with my body weight. And what's fucked is this is an unlawful protest. They don't have a permit to block the fucking street, right? They do not have a permit to block the street. They have a permit to gather on the sidewalk and, you know, make their voices heard and whatever. Right, this is exactly what happened with Breonna Taylor in my own city. They tried to block the street and take everything over, and our police would relegate them to the park. There's a park right out in front of City Hall. Like, you can demonstrate in the park. That's fine, but do not block the street. That's what your permit allows. So when you exceed the terms of your permit, the police are going to get involved and start arresting people. That's what should happen. So Portland police were caught actively defending Antifa, telling local residents they would be arrested if they drove down Antifa-controlled streets. The cops are fucking complicit in this shit, apparently. This is broad daylight too. This isn't when the rowdy fuckers come out and start throwing firebombs and fireworks.
What are you doing? That way! Do not go to the crowd of people! If you go to this crowd of people, you will be stopped and arrested. Thank you. Do not try to play that game with me right now. Man, do not play that game with me right now. We're not going to a crowd of people in this car. Back it up and take a left. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be arrested. Ma'am, I am telling you, if you go to this crowd...
What the fuck is a liaison officer? What does that even fucking mean? That sounds like some wokeified bullshit. What's he a liaison to? Fucking radical activist? Radical communist activist? That's what it sounds like.
You're not going this way. Back up
And again, recognize the building. Okay, hold on. There it is. You see it in the background? There's it. That is the Portland ICE detention facility that they hate so much. So, and this is even more infuriating, okay, because what they're doing is trying to inhibit law enforcement and trying to protest law enforcement from doing the job that the politicians have, directed them to do. So instead of going after the politicians, instead of going after Trump or, Pete Hegseth or Tom Homan, they're going after the cops, the beat cops on the ground who are just doing their fucking job. So the entire motivation for their problem is ethically unjustified. It does not ethically justify their actions, right? But you can't tell them that. No. Yeah, you can't point out logical inconsistencies in their worldview. That just doesn't equate.
But right now there are people occupying it. A car does not supersede people.
Right now there are people occupying it. A car does not supersede people. So because these people are illegally gathered in the streets and we're not going to do anything about it, you cannot drive down that road. Excuse-moi? Because you don't want to do your fucking job, you're going to arrest me for legally, being on a public road in my vehicle. That's ridiculous. That lady definitely has let me speak to your manager vibes. I'm just going to say it, but whatever, dude. She has a right to drive her car down the fucking street.
We'll deal with it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I don't know. At some point, yeah, Karens can be correct, but at some point, somebody is gonna just get fed up so much, and they're not gonna stand for this shit. So, local resident went. There you go. A local resident went off on Antifa thugs who were blocking the road to her home. So this lady can't even get to her fucking house because of these asshats. Residents are fed up with no help coming from the local authorities. Well, this is why we have to employ federal authorities in order to reinstate the fucking law and order that American citizens have come to depend upon. Trump's attempts to put an end to this occupation have been halted by some activist federal judge. That's true. Yeah. Local residents are bringing the Florida man energy. Federal judge blocks Trump's attempt to deploy Oregon National Guard to Portland. Yeah, so he's gonna, first of all, appeal it, but then also send the California National Guard, as I recall. What is wrong with these activist judges? Fucking traitors. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the damn truth? All of them need to be impeached. Well, look at Portland police going off on the residents instead of Antifa. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's for damn sure. But the shit just goes on and on and on, man, because the federal the local law enforcement won't fucking do anything about it. Even the federal law enforcement is measured in its response. At some point, the hammer's gonna come down. Otherwise, it's gonna get out of hand. And we're going to see Portland burn yet again. I've seen them set fires on this detention center before. I've seen them set fires at a county, the county courthouse here in Louisville. Yet somehow, January 6th, people walking through the building and maintaining their decorum in between the velvet ropes is an insurrection, but these people setting fire to a federal detention center is not. Fucking ludicrous. Abolish ICE is an American value, huh? Oh, here they come on their bicycles. Everybody look out. Oh, shit. Fire says, I've been getting a bit angrier lately in my elder years, sick of all this madness. His elder years. Fire is like 25. You're not getting in your damn elder years. But I agree. As I get older, I get more and more conservative than when I was a kid. When I was in high school, I was like, who cares about gay marriage? It doesn't matter. Who cares about abortion? If you want to do that, then you do that. But as I've gotten older, it's just made more and more sense that we have to push back against progressivism in general. It is a plague. It's a plague on the political discourse in this country. It's a plague on law and order, and it needs pushback. I would say it needs to end entirely. The left should become more 26. Yeah, well, I wasn't too far off, was I? But the left should become more classical liberal than communist. If we can get the left to screw their head on straight, then I'm happy for there to be a dichotomy in American politics. I don't want it to be a complete one-sided engagement all the time. But it's important that we both agree to the rules, right? Which is respect the law. Respect law and order, respect people's safety, privacy, and their right to life, in the very least, right? Like, it's gotten so heated on the left that they don't even respect that much. Oh, you disagree with me? You think trans women are not women? Then you deserve to be ended. That's the rhetoric coming from the left, and everybody on the left agrees with it. It's crazy. They're all walking in lockstep with it. Yeah, there's a couple of guys in this Steven Crowder video that I wanted to take a look at, and the first one is a good example of somebody on the left at least attempting, to be a reasonable person. So, I'm gonna say this for appropriate attribution is Steven Crowder changed my mind at SMU, Southern Methodist University. So for those of you who are atheists or are not familiar with the many different sects of Protestantism, Methodists are probably the most liberal of them all. So I've heard some people refer to Southern Methodist University as a conservative, quote-unquote, school simply because it sort of espouses some proponents of Christ's teaching. But the reality is, of every Christian university in the country, Southern Methodist University is probably the most left-leaning. So let's just say that. Like, if you went to Brigham Young, you might have a point, right? Brigham Young University is pretty right-leaning, but Southern Methodist is just not. All right, anyway.
A constructive change my mind. And of course, you can tune in to The Daily Show, live stream every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's really my bread and butter. And This is the first comeback of Change My Mind. Do you want to see more of these? It's up to you. Let me know in the comments. First up, here's Jacob. Hey, Jake.
Also, I want to be clear. Most of these guys you see standing around are armed security guards. There's a 3-inch thick bulletproof glass pane in front of Steven Crowder, and he's wearing like a light armor, like a light munitions and stabbing vest. And there you see the van right there, just in case. So these are the provisions that he's had to go through in order to make this like even feasible for himself. He said he spent something like $250,000 on this one event alone, just for security. So that's fucking insane, right? Like, I'm sitting here thinking about it, there's nothing stopping me from taking a folding table down to U of L's campus and trying to do the same thing, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to afford appropriate security measures to prevent myself from, in the very least, being assaulted, right? But like I had wondered about it. Like, maybe I can get in touch with the Young Americans Foundation. I believe they have a chapter on campus that held a vigil for Charlie Kirk, but it was like students only were allowed to come, kind of thing. So it's a very leftist school. Conservatives are in the minority there. But I was thinking maybe I could go to them and secure an invite, and then maybe they could at least have like a police officer, like stand over my shoulder the whole time. That would be really good. That'd probably be sufficient for somebody as small as I am. But before we move on, let's take a look at the chat real quick. Wolf Lobster says, it is of utmost importance that we continue to point and laugh and refrain from chasing or instinctual urges for justice. Yeah, I hear that. Never Lucky Rubber Ducky says, insane. It is insane, man. Yeah. Yeah, people were saying that Charlie Kirk's funeral was somehow like a Shotzi rally, which is insane. And did you see Phoenix Ammo Company trash in South Carolina? I was sad to see this, as they have been on point in previous issues. I'm not real familiar with what ammo companies say on Twitter. I don't pay attention to that shit. I don't really care. I don't buy Phoenix anyway. I buy Federal. So anyway, okay. So this guy again is a lefty. He comes in good faith. Let's hear a little bit of what he has to say.
Nice to meet you, sir. Grab a seat. And do you mind moving in so I can hear a little bit?
I don't mind.
Don't get cozy. Get cozy. Come on, move on in. So, Jacob, you prefer Jake?
Jacob's good.
Okay. I don't know how familiar you are with this segment or this kind of piece of content, what we do. Let me explain to you first what it's not.
Sure.
And I mean this genuinely. It's not gotcha. It's not designed for reels, clips, dunks, owned. Our conversation will be uploaded in its entirety. The ideal scenario is that we actually have a productive civil discussion. That's not always possible.
I mean, that's what I would like. So.
Yeah, okay, good. The premise today.
Like I say, conservatives are definitely in the minority on campus at U of L. So I would get a lot of pushback. I'm sure of it. The thing is, I have to like put together a binder of shit around the premise in order to make sure that when something comes up and I make a point, I have something to say. Here's how I justify that point. So that's something that I would have to do. And then, yeah, definitely getting Young Americans Foundation to sort of try to cooperate with that. The thing is, they may not be willing to. Like I said, they had that Charlie Kirk vigil, and they were like, students only. We're not going to invite anybody from the public. So they may have like security concerns, but they don't want to be associated with any potential incidents, right? So then there's also like a conservatives club and a Republican club, I think. Beyond that, I think there's 1 to 3 organizations on campus at U of L that are actually conservative in nature. So the only bourbon is made in Kentucky changed my mind. Oh, some of them might agree with that, at least if they're from the state. But all right. Let's hear what this guy has to say. I'm sorry.
Is, and I would assert that predominantly the left is responsible for a large portion of the political violence in this country and the tenor and tone, to a point that I think needs to be dealt with, or certainly at least conversationally. That's not to say that there isn't political violence across the board, but again, predominantly coming from the left. And if you disagree with me, you are more than welcome to change my mind. If you wouldn't mind, just when we start, I just want to make sure that we go through right here the definition, and just if you agree to the definitions of political violence from The Economist and Cato. So in effect...
Okay, so let me read what he's highlighting here. Is radical left violence really on the rise in America, from The Economist? The project examines from distinguishing madmen and militants is never simple, but the prosecution project, led by Michael Lodenthal of the University of Cincinnati, analyzes felony criminal cases involving political violence to see which ideologies are most common. The project examines criminal complaints, indictments, and court records, looking for crimes that seek a socio-political change or to communicate to outside audiences. Its data shows that extremists, on both left and right, commit violence, although more incidents appear to come from right-leaning attackers. See Chart 1. The figures do not, however, capture the severity of the crime nor the death toll. In 2001, for instance, there were more cases of right-wing violence than attacks by Islamists, even though the September 11th attacks by Al-Qaeda killed almost 3,000 people that year. Interesting. What's up, Agrilopolis? I think I got that right. It's good to see you, man. How you doing?
The idea.
I'm not sure if I understand this definition. So
okay, let me. Yeah, and this we're using this because these are often the numbers that are being cited right now from The Economist, the TPP project, and Cato. Basically, violence committed in the name of or as a political means to an end. Right.
Even if it's just a complaint or an indictment and they haven't been convicted or it hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah, political violence, acts of violence being committed. Right. I understand too if there are charges, convictions are different, but we agree as far as in principle, political violence. For example, I don't know how you vote, but let's say you vote Democrat and you hit and run today.
Okay.
That's not political violence just because you vote Democrat, right?
Of course.
But if you were to go run someone over because they are a Republican or vice versa, that would be political violence. Do we agree?
I agree with that.
Okay. And on that premise, I believe it's predominantly coming from the left, and you are welcome to change my mind or tell me where you disagree.
Sure. So I guess I just want to first ask, obviously, the Charlie Kirk thing is massive. I'm not super familiar with what other acts of political violence have occurred recently. Maybe you could tell me, because other than the Charlie Kirk assassination, I don't know.
I find this a lot too. Is that people who are left-leaning tend to bury their heads in the sand, and not paying attention to anything, right? So there was just the church shooting, okay, with Elephant Man. Then there was the attack on an ICE van where it didn't have any windows, so they were clearly trying to fire upon officers. And there was anti-ICE rhetoric left behind at the scene. You could argue that it was at least racially motivated in the Irina case with the lady on the train, which is ironic because she was a lefty, right? There's photographs of her in her bedroom with like BLM posters on the wall and shit. So and yet it was policies instigated by BLM activists that led to this maniac not being jailed in the first place. 15 times this guy was arrested, and they let him go every single time. And then finally he murdered somebody on the train, and the the left is like right-wing violence. Well, what do you call that? Right, that's left-wing policies leading to racially motivated violence. So
right up the road here, ICE, people were shot. 3 were shot, 1 was killed at an ICE facility, done in the name of anti-fascism. There were bomb threats at another ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas. If you want to go through.
Well, that's why I asked about the complaint. So is it political violence to threaten something if there were bomb threats? Like, does that count as political violence?
We would have to, well, I would say this. 100% we'd have to apply the same standard to both, right?
Okay.
So I'm just using examples according to the standard where right-wing political violence has been included. I understand in the ideal, right, you'd be going through a conviction. Right. But for example, let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that someone walked up to somebody in the street and said, "Are you a Trump voter?" And the person said, yes. Said, you're a Trump voter? Are you sure? Bang, bang, shot him, killed him point blank, and then said, I got him, I got the Trump voter, and then was shot by the police. We would still consider that political violence if there's documentation of that, right, on camera? Sure. Okay. So you would agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm just...
Okay, I want you to watch this because this, you just... It's in Portland.
That's obviously terrible.
Yeah, that was Aaron Danielson, and that was a Mr. Michael Rhino in Portland. That wasn't listed according to the current stats as political violence because the police shot him before there was a guilty conviction. Okay. We would agree.
Agrilopolis says, yeah, I'm not a good debater. It was a shit show with Confluence last night. It always was a shit show with that guy. Okay, that guy is intentionally disruptive, I think. And does not want to allow anyone to point out the inconsistencies in his argument. As soon as you start honing in on that, he says, no, you're reframing my argument. I have to interrupt you. I have to interrupt. That kind of shit. And it's truly annoying because all you have to do is wait for the framing to come out, and then you can say, well, here's what's wrong about that. You won't do it. But, that's why I don't like that guy. Also, he claims to be a Christian, and he's clearly not. That's another thing I find frustrating about him. I think Emmett tried to explain that, but it didn't really work out. In any case, in order to be a quote-unquote good debater, it's important to just, make sure that the facts and the information you're leaning on are made painfully apparent, and that you can easily point them out. So that's really all it takes. You don't need to know all of the names of the fallacies or all of the tactics that are going to be used in order to get you, gotcha, or to subvert the argument. All you need to do is recognize that that's happening when it's happening and point it out and say, look, this is fallacious and wrong. Here's where your point doesn't make sense to me, and here's my contention against that, and what supports my point of view. And if they want to turn it into a shit-slinging, fuckfest, then that's on them. But all you can do as a quote-unquote good debater is just try to bring supporting evidence and make sure that that's painfully visible to everybody involved. But...
So that's political violence, right?
I would agree, based on what you're telling me. And again, I just want to clarify.
Sure.
What you're saying is these acts of political violence are done disproportionately by the left compared to the right.
As a method, yes.
Okay. I mean, maybe I don't disagree with that. I mean, the sign out front just said the left is violent,
sure,
which I don't agree with, especially as a...
Oh, for shit's sake. Okay, I'm so sorry. I had like a really insightful little spiel there. All right. Let me try again. So, when you're making a... when you're getting into a formal debate, okay, the affirmative has to go first. So if you're given an opportunity to take the negative on a prompt, absolutely do it. Because that gives you an opportunity to listen to the opening statement of the affirmative first and then make notes. And say, okay, so... this point is wrong, this point is wrong, this point is wrong, because the opening statement generally totally encompasses the overarching argument that's trying to be made. So the way that you come at that in good faith is to, again, just write down the key points that they're trying to make and then refute them however you can to the best of your ability. And if you can do that, that puts the affirmative on the back foot for the entirety of the debate. They're constantly trying to justify the points that they made in the beginning instead of trying to explain how you're wrong. And you're just making assertions the entire time against the claims that they made in the beginning. So it's definitely good to be on the offensive. It's definitely good to attack instead of having to defend. And when I say attack or defend, I'm talking about, rhetorically, like, right, with the points that you're making. And yeah, so if you have an opportunity to be, in the negative on a prompt, then that's an advantage. So keep that in mind. And definitely take notes. Definitely listen to what they're saying and then directly attack it. So, yeah.
I think there are a lot more incidents of peaceful protest and
another thing that's important too is when they try to wiggle out of it and redefine their viewpoint, go back to your notes and reaffirm. You said yada 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 yada, right? This is what you believe. This is your point of view from my own words. This is me steelmanning your argument. Take the time to steelman an argument and say, yes, this is what you think, right? Right. Well, here's how you're wrong, right? and then you dig into that. So I don't know. I tried to demonstrate that with Steelman the other day. It did get contentious though, because again, Steelman felt he was on the back foot. He had to lash out somehow. So he starts slinging shit at me. He starts slinging shit at Abe. He starts slinging shit at the Marine Corps. And you catch him in little mistakes sometimes when they get flustered, right? He said, my brother was in the Marine Corps. He said they were all baby killing monsters, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, what? And rather than get emotional about that, I said, what years did your brother serve? Simple little question, okay? Now, anybody who's had a family member in the military, right, or had one deploy or has deployed, one of the most innocuous facts about that is the years during which it happened. Because, frankly, Vietnam was different than the Gulf War. The Gulf War was different than, Gulf War II in Afghanistan. And, all that's different than the shit that's been going on in South America and Africa and everything else. So that's one of the ways military members can gain some insight as to, what was the military like while you were there. And then, we can sort of relate to one another on different levels from that information. So this is something that's very common for people who served in the military to very easily just give up. It's not identifiable information, right? But Stillman's juxtaposition to that was, I don't want to dox him. I don't want to dox him. I'm like, okay. Well, you're full of shit then. You're full of shit. Because that should be an easy, immediate answer. And you don't want to give it. So I don't fucking believe you. So that's one little example of how, putting somebody on the back foot can cause them to make a mistake that easily exposes them as a complete lying sack of shit.
Very moderate, and people who are on the left who, it's a very, very small, isolated segment, and we're talking about...
But what if you were wrong about that?
What if I was wrong that most people who lean left or are on the left
are peaceful? What if I were to tell you that a majority of today's political left view violence against either political adversaries, people of political persuasions, as acceptable, as somewhat to complete? What if it's over 62%? Somewhat to completely acceptable. What if those on the left actually support political violence at a ratio of 5 to 8 to 12 to 1 to conservatives? What if that was a fact? It doesn't mean that you are. But it, again, would be reflective of the whole of the left, much more so than the right.
If that was a fact, it would support what you're saying, and not trying to say that doesn't exist. I mean, I would be skeptical if I saw something as to what you said. I think 62% I think there's no way that 62% of people who vote left, who believe left, support violence. Have I seen instances? You know,
So it's a recent YouGov poll. YouGov, not a conservative poll. 77% of self-identified conservatives said political violence is unacceptable always. Okay?
Only 77?
77. Only 38% of leftists. 62% answered somewhat to completely acceptable. Some answered I don't know. And then there was another Snap poll before that that had, again, at a ratio of 6-to-1, self-identified liberals supporting political violence in comparison to conservatives. It doesn't mean you or all, but if we're comparing those demographics, it is stark, it is consistent. I could point you to another one after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Over 60% of the left said it is somewhat to completely acceptable.
I mean,
this shit's fucking insane, man. This shit's insane. And then, you know, all of that sort of explains why you had a majority of leftist progressives and communists out here celebrating the fact that Charlie Kirk was shot. It's disgusting. You know, and it's all endemic and indicative of a larger problem where people just completely lack any moral compass, whatever. Yeah, never lucky. Exactly. It's revolutionary ideology. That's right. The point of the revolution is the revolution. We have to burn it all down in order to rebuild it. And from the ashes will rise a great grand phoenix that will grant us the liberties that we want to see, right? I have no idea what they're doing. And they're unwilling to, you know, acknowledge history. And every time that this has happened, it's always been abysmal. Especially for the people at the bottom, whom they claim to care about the most. The irony of that for you, huh?
Again, I'd love to, you know, see these polls, and if those are representative, I totally agree with you. I don't think it's okay to support political violence. I'm honestly a little shocked at how low the conservative, like if only 77%, I would have think it'd be like 99%.
Yeah.
This is typical fucking deflection too, right? He's completely ignoring the fact that the majority of leftists in a 6-to-1 ratio, Stephen pointed this out in very clear terms, the 6-to-1 ratio, the majority of leftists agree that political violence is justified. Only 30% of right-leaning people would say anything similar to that. And yet, I'm really surprised that the right is that low. That's amazing to me. I don't know. Maybe there's something is to this rhetoric that you know, political violence is predominantly on the right. Like, there's such bad faith, disingenuous horseshit. It's my team. My side is always justified and always good. You know, it reminds me of when I spent some time after the Charlie Kirk, you know, tragedy, asking lefties to condemn left-wing violence. They would not fucking do it. They will not do it. Exactly. My both sides. But my both sides. Level 4 lobster. But my both sides. That's exactly right. They will not. I challenge you today. Go find a leftist and ask them if they will condemn left-wing violence. They will not. Because to them, there is no such thing as left-wing violence. There is no such thing as a radical, progressive, communist element within their ranks that's attempting to end people who speak out on the right in the name of Christian morals and real-world fucking facts, such as transgender people are not the gender that they identify as. Those people deserve it in their mind. That's not left-wing violence. That's a justified response to right-wing violence, which was Charlie Kirk's words in the first place, as far as they're concerned. Because words are violence, right? This is the way the pretzel brain fucking works, man. Like, they twist themselves into these logical fallacies and then just ultimately believe anything that they hear that's in support of their team, their side, their guy. Vote blue no matter who, right? That's where we get that from. It's a fucking cult. They're brainwashed, and even this guy is suffering from the brainwashing. Because again, in the stats Crowder just cited, because 60% is lower than 70%, right? It doesn't equate in his mind the fact that these are juxtaposed points of view. 70% of right-leaning people do not think political violence is ever justified. 60% of left-leaning people do think political violence is justified. So the whole thing just whooshes right over his head because all he wants to do is protect his own side, his own team.
I think it'd be 99% of the left, according to your premise, right? But it's 38.
I think, well, that is what I would think, and it's not been my experience that most people who are on the left who support political violence. I will say, and this has troubled me, is I have seen members of the left support, for example, Hamas. I have seen members of the left not condemn Charlie Kirk assassination or who have spoken out as being happy about it. I just don't think that is a majority of the population. I would be very curious to see these polls, but
matter of fact,
that's
do we
not
have,
been my experience. And
so someone, one second, can we have the QR, because we actually have a QR code so you can see all the sources.
That'd be great.
Yeah, great. They should have had that earlier.
I can look at this later. I mean, we're just here.
No, but I want to give it to you so you can access it. And by the way, I do think, just to be clear, I think that your heart is in the right place. And I think you're honest in that this is your perspective because you probably think it's abhorrent, as I do, political violence.
Right.
And here's why we're having this conversation, okay? For example, see, we have bulletproof glass and basically a small platoon here.
Yeah, it's scary.
I can imagine it is. But before this last event, people would have argued it's unnecessary. And we've had to take increasing security measures. I can tell you that the reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time, there was some serious violent action carried out. There were rocks thrown, concrete milkshakes, people trying to slash tires, Molotov cocktails, and no one would listen. There's a reason that Charlie Kirk had security before he was assassinated, right? There are a lot of close calls, and you saw the one that got through. And the rhetoric was always, you're fine. You're fine until you shed blood.
Look, I completely agree. I mean, there's definitely extreme political violence. I've seen it happen. The whole country just saw it happen. I just think
but can I just finish that one point?
That the entire left is violent.
No, the left is violent as an ideology and as a majority, which you'll see with the stats that I present to you. But here's the thing, and this is a genuine concern. There's no off-ramp here. Let me explain to you what I mean. I think we both want to avoid any type of civil war or serious conflict, right? We both do.
I don't think we're close to that.
I'll tell you why I think it could be in the cards within the next decade. Okay,
and this rhetoric too, right? This is another element of the brainwashing. I think is that people will the normative bias. I think I've heard it called, where oh no, that's not happening. It's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as it looks. Everybody's just getting out of pocket for no fucking reason. It's not that big a deal, bro. Just fucking chill out, bro. And like I just heard a mouthful of that from Powder Dusty the other day. Not earlier today. He did appear on Rob's show today and make a bit of an ass of himself. But last week before, really just after the Charlie Kirk event, okay, he's going around the chats and being like, "Oh no, the right is under attack, you guys. Yeah, give me a break." Like, dude, one of the most innocuous, center-leaning Christian conservatives in the entire country, right? Not even a politician, just got shot dead on stage at a university's campus, and you're sitting here mocking us for having some reticence, saying that the right is under attack. It honestly, even if every other day there was a Schnazi fucking incident, that doesn't change the fact that the right is under attack. But somehow we're idiots for pointing that out, or like I say, having some reticence about it.
Not said this before these last 2 years. There was only one off-ramp when the left, a member of the left, assassinated Charlie Kirk in cold blood in the name of political leftism, of radical trans ideology leftism, right? Justified it through Charlie Kirk being hateful, which he's not, him being prejudiced, which he's not. The only off-ramp would have been if the leadership on the left, and if the majority of the left said, hey, look, this has gone too far. We've labeled these people fascists, Nazis, racists, genocidists because of their trans policy. And my God, some people out there are actually believing it. We're sorry, let's tone it down. Instead, there was a very surprising, gleeful celebration thereafter. And you can say not all the left, but every single vigil, every single memorial, every single mural that was put up was desecrated, spit on. There were assaults from the left when people on our side, and by that I mean conservative Christian America by and large, have one of ours attacked, and then they pursue our spaces to honor the dead and celebrate, that tells us, oh, there are too many.
So you think because...
I mean, this is a great example, too. Like, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, okay, did anybody show up to her funeral to mock her or her family or people supporting her in her life and her achievements? No. Okay. When that Minnesota state legislator was killed, did anybody show up to her funeral to mock them or make fun of them? Say, oh, your boy dead. Oh, look at that. Oh, your boy dead. Oh, darn. You know, were there people on TikTok gleefully celebrating that shit? No, not a soul, not a single person with any kind of clout or relevance said anything of the sort. And yet somehow it's us that needs to tone down the fucking rhetoric. Are you kidding me?
Of this, you think we're trending towards some kind of civil war, civil conflict?
I can tell you this, I have a pretty large sample size, and this would be anecdotal in addition to the empirical. Since COVID, I would say that's number 2. I never saw more people change their political persuasion outside of COVID in my lifetime. People who were self-identified liberals who couldn't send their kids to school, right? They thought, okay, it's going too far. I've never had more people reach out and say, I was so shocked at the celebration and justification, the assassination of Charlie Kirk from who I thought were moderate liberal friends, that I've had to delete them from social media. I can't be included amongst them. There's an exodus taking place because of the reaction. And you can't point me to an example like that on the right. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Look, I mean, you're making good points. I don't see how this is leading to civil war, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I've seen people have the exact reaction that you're discussing. I think it's wrong. In my experience from anecdotal evidence, that's why I'm curious to see the empirical studies, I don't think that represents a majority of...
Okay, hold on. Say it again. He said my study, bro, but my study.
I think it's wrong. In my experience from anecdotal evidence, that's why I'm curious to see the empirical studies, I don't think that represents a majority of the left. The incidents you're talking about memorials being desecrated,
and you've seen it, right?
I've seen it, but this isn't coming from, like, the Democratic leaders. Like, this isn't coming from the majority of...
Sure it is.
It absolutely is. Ilhan Omar, Mehdi Hassan, okay? Ilhan Omar was just at a town hall calling people who follow Charlie Kirk assholes. And let's not whitewash the history here. Like, you know, tacitly saying that, oh, he kind of deserved it, you guys. He really kind of did.
You're saying Democratic leaders?
Yeah, let me explain to you. Charlie Kirk was killed because people actually believed that he was a fascist. And Gavin Newsom just said it about the Republican Party and Stephen Miller not more than 24 hours ago.
Yep. I was just looking that up. Good on you, Stephen. All right, so this is from Eric Dougherty. Okay, Never Lucky Rubber Ducky mentioned it. He's quoting Stephen Miller. He says, why do you think they posted this? This is from the Newsom press office. From the press office. So this is approved by a quote-unquote social media manager or whatever, right? Like somebody who has some kind of type of background in media decided this was a good message to send out. It says Stephen Miller is a fascist. So Eric Dougherty says, breaking, Gavin Newsom is being accused of purposefully putting a target on the back of White House official Stephen Miller and inciting violence. Gavin is disgusting. Gavin is the problem. I wholeheartedly agree. But you know, there's some motivation behind this. It didn't come out of nowhere. So this is from August, and Stephen Miller just ended Gavin Newsom's and Karen Bass's career, saying they're guilty of crimes against humanity. They should resign immediately.
Mayor of Los Angeles and
Honestly, I tend to agree.
We're in the largest sanctuary city and the largest sanctuary state in America. They refuse to turn over tens of thousands of serial criminal illegal aliens to ICE. So they get arrested by state or local authorities and they get cut loose. They then go on to commit crimes like assault, armed robbery, home invasion, and murder. The most unimaginable, egregious crimes you could think of. all of that blood, all of that suffering, all of that heartache squarely on the soul and conscience of California's governor and the mayor of Los Angeles. They are guilty of crimes against humanity. They are facilitating child trafficking, sex trafficking. Look, they think this is a game. They think this is a joke. This is life and death. When you meet with the families, as you have, Griff, whose loved ones have been raped and killed and slaughtered by criminal illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country, what Newsom are doing and what Bass is doing are unforgivable. And God bless our ICE agents and Border Patrol agents for going out there and doing this mission on behalf and on the orders of President Trump to make America safe for our citizens. The Democrat Party seems to only care about two groups right now, criminals and illegal aliens. And that's it. Donald Trump's Republican Party is fighting for law-abiding American citizens, and you're seeing the results right here in Washington, D.C., where the most violent city that we have in this country is now becoming, day by day, and will become one of the safest cities in the whole country. Mayor of
I fucking love it. And yeah, for that, Stephen Miller is a fascist. That's what the Newsom press, that's the press office's response, right? Okay. for wanting law and order to enforce immigration policy in the United States and to get criminals off the street, Stephen Miller is a fascist. Give me a fucking break. But yeah, absolutely, Stephen's 100% correct about that. That is a call to violence against Stephen Miller. That's putting a target on his back. He should be investigated. He should be watched very closely for that.
So you would blame the leaders for saying these
I would say they're responsible if they are going.
As we all know, the bar for an investigation is very low, right?
Going to say that Donald Trump's rhetoric is responsible for Black Lives Matter, which preceded him by 2 to 3 years under Barack Obama. I certainly would say the ongoing rhetoric from the left that Republicans and Donald Trump are racist, that they are fascist, comparing them to Nazis, Hitler, that they are genocidists because they don't believe that children should. I think that rhetoric, because let me ask you this, the people who have committed this violence, for example, right here at ICE, Charlie Kirk, right, Antifa, this man you just saw, they believe that Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump are fascists. If that's true, how do you deal with fascists? If half the country believes that we're fascists, how do you deal with fascists? You can't do it at the ballot box.
Let me break this down one at a time, because that was a lot.
Okay.
First thing, I think people.
This is another fallacy that left does a lot. Okay, when they're overburdened by antithetical positions, they'll say gish gallop, gish gallop, gish gallop. And that's too much for me to respond to. Let's unpack this, right? Let's break this down. Really, what that means is I don't really have a very good response, so we're gonna have to go through and reiterate some of that in order for me to give me a moment to think about it.
I think you can't 100% blame people for the things that they say, inciting violence. People have their own agency and their own decision making.
No, they campaign on them. It's the DNC campaign platform. It's fascism, not Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom. You can't name one. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. Fascism, comparisons to Hitler. They say that we want to oppress blacks. They say we want to erase trans people.
I mean, I've seen it happen. It happens occasionally. I don't think the majority of Democratic leaders say this or believe this.
Then name one. Name one who hasn't. I'm still waiting for that answer. I haven't seen it yet.
And even some of the ones who do maybe not believe it. But if we're just talking about rhetoric,
but what if they all do? What if they all do?
If we're talking about rhetoric being dangerous and inciting violence, I mean, I think the right shares some blame in that too. I don't think the right is completely without blame for speaking poorly of the other side. I mean, Donald Trump is certainly not the the idol or the model of manners, or not be.
And it always comes back to this too: Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump's bad, Orange Man bad. So everybody who follows Orange Man is also bad.
Manners are different from labeling your opposition as fascists who won't relinquish the reins of power.
Yeah. Trump said Rosie O'Donnell was fat, and that Megyn Kelly didn't deserve his respect, right? But so he's bad. He's a piece of shit. Get rid of him. He's a fascist. He's a fascist dictator who will absolutely ruin the country. Is going to try to end all trans people. Wants to eliminate all immigration into the United States, and is trying to absolutely destroy our country. Yeah. Okay, so which is worse? Calling Rosie O'Donnell fat or completely ruining the environment for political discourse in the United States to where radical leftists think that the only course of action is what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Not being
Manners are
rhetoric.
different from labeling your opposition as fascist who won't relinquish the reins of power. Ergo, you need a violent revolution.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
My point is, yes, some Democratic leaders have said things, have called other people fascists, have called them racist. Some people on the right as well have said things about members on the left. You know, have called them communists, have called them socialists, similar type of rhetoric. And I don't think
it's similar.
I don't think it's right to blame the leaders for violent acts that a small minority of extreme supporters commit. I don't think that means the entire party is violent. I don't think that means that the leadership is violent. I think they're simply...
Okay, so again, so much stuff just goes to the wayside and doesn't get addressed here. It's not it's not just the acts of violence; it's also the justification for those acts, and the general consensus by the constituency who identifies as left is saying that this is okay, this is good, political violence is acceptable, because Donald Trump bad, because Charlie Kirk is a fascist, because Stephen Miller is a dictator. You know, most of the left does agree with this rhetoric, and most of the Democrat leadership cheers it on, and most of the media runs cover for it, and they're all working in tandem to achieve, you know, a similar goal, which is to absolutely demolish political discourse in the United States. And to spark a revolution. That's absolutely it. They're fucking commies. This is why I call them commies.
A small group of extremes, and I agree with you. Are we seeing it more from the left than from the right? I think we are. I think if I were to do some research, I'm sure I would be able to find some acts of political violence
Absolutely.
from the right.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
But maybe there are more from the left, and that is what I've seen, and I agree with you there.
I appreciate your honesty.
But I do not agree that it is the entire Democratic Party, that it is the leadership of the left, that it is the belief of the majority of the left that these acts are okay. I know there is a higher percentage of...
Sorry, I know this bug keeps coming. It's a bitch, isn't it? Sorry.
I've definitely seen people from the left and Democrats who have not condemned what happened to Charlie Kirk and have not condemned these political acts of violence, who have not condemned what's going on in Israel.
No, but
I don't think the majority.
Okay,
of the
but what
left
if? Let's assume I'm not lying to you. Okay, let's assume that there's a YouGov poll. Let's assume there's a Reuters poll. Okay. Let's assume that you've got 62% somewhat to okay. Let's assume that you have a 6-to-1 ratio of political violence being okay from the left. Let's assume that after Donald Trump's the attempted assassination, that over 60% of the left said that violence against Donald Trump would be somewhat to completely justified. Let's assume that I'm not lying to you about after the Tesla bombings, that a majority of the left said it would be somewhat to completely justified in contrast to Republicans. Let's assume that I'm not lying to you about all of it, okay? Then you say it might be a fringe minority who say fascist, for example, who say racist. Here would be my challenge to you. Name me one member of the Democratic Party in a national position of leadership, one who's run for office, either been president, vice president, or ran for the office, who hasn't accused our side of being fascist, of comparing us to Hitler. Name me one.
I mean, this is...
Okay, so on that front, somebody does actually come to my mind, okay? Did John Fetterman ever say that? So, John Fetterman ever call the right fascist? Yeah, I mean, maybe, probably, but let's find out. Okay. No, Fetterman is not called the right fascist. In fact, he has repeatedly criticized Democrats for using that term against conservatives, Republicans, or Donald Trump, arguing it fuels political violence and is unhelpful to rhetoric. September 25, December 24. Dismissing claims Trump is a fascist, he said, "It's not a word I would use. A lot of Democrats that voted for Trump, they are not fascists." He called the party freakouts over Trump not helpful. These statements align with Fetterman's broader push for civility, especially after events like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, right? Which he tied to overheated language. Okay. Searches of his ex-posts and public records show no instances where he applied fascist to the right, only condemnations of the label itself. All right. So in good faith, okay, Fetterman has not said that, insofar as I can tell. I'm not digging any deeper than the cursory Grok search there. But in the Dr. Oz race, I mean, that's kind of where I would be interested in it. Yeah, let's go back to 2020 and see if he ever said it back then. But or pre-stroke, right? It seems like after Fetterman's stroke, like he got like way more based, but I don't know why. I think because a lot of people on the right were like, look, I don't bemoan the man for having health problems, okay, but I don't think he should be in office with an inability to speak or understand people speaking to him, right? Like, that was the problem. I never made fun of him for having a stroke. Like, I have family members who had a stroke, and they weren't really the same afterward. But thankfully they were able to retire, okay, and kind of remove themselves from the workforce, and they're happily living out the rest of their days. My elderly uncle, right? So, and he's doing fine as far as I can tell. He's got a little bit of a speech impediment. That's about the end of it. And then, there's some other stuff. But happily retired, doing just fine. And I was thinking, like, that's probably what should happen to John Fetterman. I didn't wish him ill or anything like that. I didn't try to make fun of him because he was having a speech impediment or anything like that. It didn't matter. What mattered was, in order to be a legislator, you got to be able to talk. You got to be able to understand people talking to you. That's very important skills. Not only that, you got to be able to put on a fucking suit. So that was the other thing that kind of pissed me off about Fetterman. But I don't think it's becoming of our side to make fun of people for health issues. I really don't. And I wasn't in that crowd.
Tough for me to answer because I'm not like super familiar. I couldn't even name that many
don't exist.
Political leaders. But I'm very certain if I looked hard enough, I would find Democratic leaders who have not called other people fascists, who have not called other people racist. I have seen a lot of them, and again, I've seen on social media, and like obviously I've seen the usual suspects doing it. But
Biden, Kamala Harris, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, every single one of them has lobbed the fascism accusation against Donald Trump and his voters.
I agree with you, and I've seen that. I'm just saying
that's a stark number of people that Steven Crowder is running through too, from Bernie Sanders through AOC to Ilhan Omar to Chuck Schumer. Everybody else, like you can look at the top down, upper echelon leadership of the Democrat Party and see this across the board. Fetterman is an exception to that rule, so it is a cogent and salient point to make. That's difficult to dismiss, but of course, leave it to a lefty to latch on to one example and say, Fetterman though. What about Fetterman? What's up, God's favorite hand? It's good to see you. Good to see you as well, ML. How y'all doing?
530-something members of Congress. I am 100% sure that there is a Democratic one there. That
I'm sure there is one.
Well, right. I just don't know their name because I haven't.
But you can't point me to a single person in the right. Go Donald Trump, Vance, all the way down who've said, hey, by the way, they're never going to relinquish power. The enemies are fascists who can't be dealt with at the ballot box. You can hear Donald Trump say shitty things.
Specifically, but I've seen comparable things said from Donald Trump.
Like?
I can't remember off the top.
Yeah, find people on both sides, hoax, complete fucking bullshit, okay? At no point did Trump ever wish ill on his political opponents. He called them names and mocked them, okay, and was very rude, sure. But at no point did he ever call for political violence to occur or try to paint the left as an enemy that cannot be overcome except for with revolution.
Top of my head. But he has definitely not been the model of rhetoric. And again, part of this rhetoric, I mean, it's politics. It's people appealing to their base. It's people appealing to some of the extreme members. Because also, you got to remember that most people don't even come out and vote. It's like 30-something% of people who've come out and vote.
It depends on the year.
It depends on the year.
I think it's been closer to 50 in recent years.
The people who vote are usually tend to feel very strongly and or tend to be more extreme.
Sure.
So these leaders, they, from a practical perspective, have to appeal to these more extreme voters, which is why it seems like it's a higher percentage of these parties on both sides which have these extreme views.
I don't think
that's the case.
But assuming I'm not lying, right? would all
I don't
those
think
polls
you're
reflect?
lying. I don't think you're
no,
lying.
but I'm assuming
I
I'm
just
not
haven't
lying.
seen these polls.
But let's assume that those polls exist, right? Let's assume that you take this QR code and you go,
I assume
oh,
they do exist. I
damn,
just don't know if
you
they're
can-
representative. Difference between that, you could poll 100 people and you can poll a different 100 people. You can poll
Well,
100
how many
people at
polls would
SMU.
you need of self-identified liberals versus self-identified from left-leaning polling sources? How many would you need to go? And I think you've already agreed that it's predominantly coming from the left. I guess at this point what we're talking about is, okay, if we both agree that there is more violence coming from the left right now, right now, and I think we agree on that.
Well,
it's the
more political violence.
more political violence from the left. Yes,
Sure.
right now. I think we agree on that.
Yes.
What is that justification? More political violence? Yes. More, okay. So does that mean there's more non-political violence from the right? Like, what are you trying to say there? Because even that's not true. Let's take a look at gang shootings in Chicago last weekend. You want to? Last week, from September 28th to October 4th, 12 people were shot and killed. 37 people were shot and wounded, and 13 homicides occurred. Over 49 people have been shot in the past week. In October to date, in the past 6 days, there have been 10 homicides and 43 shootings. Right? Over the past year, 1,580 people in the greater Chicago area have been shot. 352 homicides have occurred. But that's right-wing violence? Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
It begs the question, why? Right? And I don't think that it's productive to kind of both sides that, because it's not a both sides. It's a disproportionate percentage on one side. Also, I think, if we both, for example, you and I can find common ground. I think this has been hopefully respectful.
I think so too.
You seem like a very nice gentleman. This right here, not listed in the stats, right? Because right now the media also goes out and says there's more violence on the right wing, which obviously you don't.
I mean,
you're
I
not
haven't
buying.
seen that.
Yeah, that's not registered as.
I'm not like watching.
No, but that's not registered as political violence. Isn't that crazy to you? Cato.
If what you say is true, then yes,
it is true.
That should be registered as political violence. I agree.
It's not. Nor the Summer of Love, the George Floyd riots, none of those deaths, none of the arsons, the January 20th protests where people were arrested right after Donald Trump became president, none of those included as political violence. The problem is, and you say, and I hope that we can find common ground. I hope we have an off-ramp to some kind of civil upheaval, genuinely. But when one side gets backed into a corner where they need security to go out and express their opinion for sitting at a table, when one side says, hey, hold on a second, we are effectively being targeted and hunted if we are public figures, or, for example, even if we're not public figures, if we're working at an ICE facility, we're working at a police precinct, and something needs to be done, and people go, no, it's both sides. And then you have the media saying, actually, it's the right who's more politically violent. You back them into a corner, and I think you know what the end game is there. And so I hope that you do spend time.
I don't know what the end game is there.
The end game there is if people are at the receiving end of political violence and it's gleefully celebrated thereafter, and then they are accused of committing the political violence, they're going to start not just defending themselves, they're going to start fighting back. And I hope it doesn't come to that.
I hope they fight back peacefully or in the proper channels.
You can't ask them to fight back peacefully if they're being killed in record numbers. That's the issue.
Yeah, exactly. When this is what we're met with, okay? The rhetoric from the left is, oh, it's not happening. You all are under attack, and people who are basically center, moderate, conservative Christians like Charlie Kirk end up getting killed for their viewpoints. And then the left turns around and fucking celebrates it, and then the majority supports that kind of shit happening. No, it's very difficult to sit down and be willing to have an honest fucking conversation with somebody. It truly is. Fight back peacefully. Yeah, well, through rhetoric. That's all I would encourage. Because the last thing I want to see is a fucking civil war pop off. But I can't, I can't do anything to sort of dissuade you of Steven's point. I think he's right. Shit is getting heated, and it's not cooling off. That only leads to one place. Never Look at Rubber Ducky says he's saying the bell curve. It's like women and men. Yeah, I don't fucking. I don't subscribe to that. That's just a bullshit justification, right? But God's favorite aunt says the left is pushing us towards a low trust society, and I'm not sure it isn't on purpose. I'm pretty damn sure it is on purpose, to be frank. But ML says I don't think it will get to civil war. I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. It's the last thing I want to see happen. But well, there's about 5 minutes of this left. Let's try to finish this out. I'm gonna give the full context of this interview, and then I'll link this if you guys want to see the rest of it.
If they're being killed and assaulted in record numbers. And that's the reason for this, is we need to deal with this problem. We need an off-ramp.
So what's your solution to the political violence seemingly coming from the left?
Well, I can tell you this. There is no solution until there's a structural changes to the makeup of the Democrat Party. In other words, you can't have over 60% in poll after poll after poll supporting some kind of political violence. You can't have the Summer of Love and those riots. You can't have the Tesla bombings. You can't have Charlie Kirk and people coming out and people in the Democratic Party saying, well, even though I condemn the violence, he was hateful. He wasn't. His rhetoric. That needs to change for us to be able to find common ground. It needs to come from the left. The left needs to tone down the temperature, and they need to take ownership and apologize, and they haven't. That means the leadership, and that means anyone who went out there and justified or celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. There needs to be such a chorus from, let's assume that you're more left-leaning. It's not enough to not condone political violence. You have to be championing that cause in your own ranks, because we're not seeing it. That's the only way.
So you would like to see from the Democratic leaders some sort of condemnation, apology,
accountability.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do we stop this, violent rhetoric, or the kind of rhetoric that's inciting violence?
Well, that would be the left. The left needs to stop it, right?
The leaders can come out and they can condemn it and they can apologize. But assuming these polls are correct, how do we change the 62% who are okay with political violence?
Well, right now, again, this is why the why matters. The reason that you have 62 in some polls, 60 in some polls more, is because of the leadership and the temperature in the Democrat Party. So that alone maybe brings it down to 50. It doesn't bring it down to conservative levels, but it brings it down pretty low. And then the left needs to be on board with such harsh on crime policies and realities. For example, before Charlie Kirk, we had Irina Zarutska, right? There in North Carolina, the woman who was stabbed.
I don't know about that.
White woman who was stabbed by a black man who was released
Again, burying your head in the sand, not paying attention to, inconvenient facts. It's very typical of the left. Mr. Bill says he's down at the ICE building right now. Mr. Bill lives in Portland, if you guys did not know. That's terrifying, Mr. Bill. Do be careful. If you are live, I would encourage everybody to go check out Mr. Bill's channel and say hello, give a like and a subscribe. Mr. Bill's base as fuck. We got to work on some of the ways you challenge lefties sometimes, though, Mr. Bill. I'll tell you that. But there's only a Mr. Bill. Definitely check him out. You can restream if you like. Thank you, Mr. Bill. I appreciate that. I may. Especially if some shit goes down. But it doesn't appear that you're live at the moment. At least not to me. But yeah, you all definitely go like and subscribe, Mr. Bill. He's good peoples. Yeah.
18 times. Stabbed her on a subway. She bled to death.
Was that was political violence you're saying? Or
no, what I'm saying is political violence thrives in blue districts where you have catch and release and IOU, no cash bail policies. This guy.
Yeah. So on one hand, you have the leftist constituency saying that political violence is good and justified in particular examples, particularly with Charlie Kirk, for instance, because he was saying that a trans woman is not a woman, essentially. I'm pretty sure that was the big thing. And then on the flip side, you have Democrat legislators saying, we are not going to prosecute people because if they have a certain amount of melanin in their skin. Right? If you're a white guy and you jaywalk, you're going to jail. You're paying the fine, right? But if you got enough melanin and you rob a store, no, we're not going to do anything about it. No cash bail. Just don't do it again, okay? And be sure to show up for court. Oh, you didn't show up for court? Darn. Oh, you got caught doing another crime? Darn. I guess we'll no cash bail and just let you go and hopefully you come back to court next time, please. Oh, you didn't show up to court? Oh, you committed another crime? Darn. So, no cash bail. We're just going to release you. District attorney doesn't want to get, backlash for prosecuting someone with the appropriate amount of melanin in their skin, so we can't do that. And then eventually something like Irina, I don't want to get her last name wrong, in North Carolina happens, okay? This nice Ukrainian girl minding her own fucking business, just trying to come home from work, and what'd you have? You had fucking one of these idiots on CNN. I don't know if it was Don Lemon or whoever they got to try to replace him as the token black guy on CNN, but he was saying, you know, nobody, how dare Charlie Kirk try to put, yeah, that's who it was. It was Vance Jones, right? It was Vance Jones. It was saying, how dare Charlie Kirk try to put this in the prism of race when nobody was saying anything about race. Well, come to find out, there's audio in that security footage from the train. I got that white girl. You fucking lying sacks of shit. Lying sacks of shit. They will constantly cover for the failures of the left over and over and over again. Again, I challenge any of you in the chat to go to any leftist you know and say, will you condemn left-wing violence? They will not. They don't acknowledge that it even exists.
Guy was released on an IOU, deemed mentally unfit to stand trial by a leftist judge, by a leftist court system, 14 times. Do you know the average amount of times that a murderer has been released before they commit a murder?
I do not.
11. 11.
I would have to see something on that.
Yep. Again, the QR code will make all of it available. So the left not only foments violence through rhetoric, but then they also facilitate it by soft on-crime policies with the same rhetoric, because keeping people behind bars, having actual bail needed to be posted is considered racism. Every single proposal that comes from the right is racist, it's fascist, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transphobic, and now we have people dying. So those two things need to change. Crime policy and the rhetoric from the top down.
Okay.
Do you think that would make a difference?
I mean, I personally support some of the crime changes you're discussing. I guess I do have a follow-up question, which is, you mentioned that...
And there's a QR code, by the way, with the sources.
That average murderer is released 11 times.
Yeah.
Is there, like, do those murderers commit more, acts of violence when they're released?
Good to see you, Nukes ISS. How you doing, man? And Adam King says, yeah, the only ones that condemn it are the ones leaving it. I don't know what you mean by that. Please do clarify.
Is there some kind of statistics on that? Because, does that actually...
Well, I mean, they've been brought in for serious crimes 11 times.
But are they, when they're released, are they under house arrest? Are they under, like they're not committing more crimes when they're on trial?
Well, I would imagine between crime 6 and 7, and between crime 7 and 8, they're committing more crimes all the way up to 11. I think we can agree on that, right? That's pretty self-explanatory.
I mean,
this guy was released 14 times, including already committing armed robbery. And this is not the only example. You know, George Floyd.
What about him?
9 times. He robbed a woman at gunpoint with her daughter in the house. This was a serial violent criminal.
Right.
Who had no business being on the streets. I'm just picking it because it's an example of someone you would know.
Right. I mean, I'm totally with, the justice system and
locking them up. If they commit violent crimes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lock them up.
If you're convicted of a violent crime, then you should be convicted according to, whatever the state's penal code is.
Yeah. That makes sense, God's favorite ant. That's probably true. The only ones who are actually condemning it are the ones who are leaving the Democrat Party, or at least coming out and saying, "Hey, this shit is insane. We need to tone it back a little bit." I've been seeing that more and more from people who are left leaning. There was some girl who was a progressive posted a video that said, "When anti-fascist starts to become fascist or starts to look like fascism," right? It's like, how have you not seen this from day one with the Summer of Love and the 2020 riots, right? They've been fascist since the beginning. Adam King says, yes, that was my point. Right on, man. I'm just checking. I'm just checking. That does make sense. And there has been a lot of what do you call it? Progressive flight, right? From places like San Diego and San Francisco, where they have apps to track all of the human feces on the ground. Yeah, I can't imagine why anybody would want to leave those districts.
The problem is the states where leftists are in charge is very soft. You don't need to have any.
But you think the solution to political violence and the problem with the left right now is we need the left and the right to work together on crime policies? No, you don't.
No, not on the. Well, first on the crime policies. Here's what needs to happen. Before that, the rhetoric. The left needs to take full ownership and accountability. Okay, and not just the leadership, but people like you who seem like decent people. We need to see you calling out your own the same way you would see conservatives call out their own here if someone were to be violent. We need to see that rhetoric be toned down and changed completely. We're not fascist, we're not racist, we're not transphobic, we have disagreements of opinions.
I agree with you.
And then as far as crime, we need to go back to the crime policies that we had that worked and the left altered. We don't need to work together. We need the left, these judges, these DAs, to go back to punishing crime.
Here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Isn't crime sort of a state issue? I mean, you have state judges, you have state penal codes. These state judges are elected by popular vote. What is the federal government? What can the left even do? What can we even do?
So that would need to come from those in charge in these blue districts. For example, these judges who let people go 10, 15 times. For example, in New York, where DAs, there's no cash bail, there's catch and release. It's literally an IOU. Hey, will you come back to court even though you committed armed robbery? Yeah, I promise I will. Free to go, and they murder somebody. The left needs to fix this. We can't. Because you don't have the same political violence on the right, and you don't have the same revolving door of crime in red districts. These are facts, and it's not working, and people are getting tired of it. So those would be the two solutions. But here's a QR code, if you'd like to look it up. And Jacob, I really do appreciate you sitting down and having a civil discussion.
I appreciate you having me on.
And please do go, anytime you see it, condemn it, and let people see you condemning those kinds of actions. Because I think you can make at least you can make a big impact in your circle of friends. I mean it. I mean it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Be well.
You know what, Jacob was all right by me. That was a solid conversation, even though we didn't agree on every detail, or maybe even most details. You can tell that he sat down in good faith. Has a good head on his shoulders. Heart seems like it's in the right place. We were able to engage. And up next was this strapping young gentleman, Connor from San Francisco. I know what you're thinking, but it's not entirely that. Hear him out.
Okay. Connor from San Francisco is actually a based Christian. They don't disagree on a whole lot, but I'll put this link in the chat for you guys if you want to check it out. Definitely go take a look. It was some enlightening conversations, not just that one. So, and I applaud Steven for taking it back to basics here, because he was the one who pioneered this format. And that's one of the reasons why I became interested in his work in the first place, was because of the Change My Mind segments. And some of the arguments that he was making always seemed, just so middle of the road, average kind of points of view to me. To find people that were so vehemently against him even existing, right, was just unreal to me, man. It's just unreal. And again, this goes back to the left's absolute intolerance for any sort of dissonance on their side, right? Like, you're saying something that we disagree with. We can't have you here. You can't talk to any of us. Don't interview any of our people. Don't come to our campuses to have an open discussion in good faith to try to make your voice heard. We can't tolerate that. Get off of our campus. Get out of our demonstration. You're not one of us, right? Emil says, I've been watching Crowder back when it was just him and his brother with a blue shirt. Guy's been doing good work. Yeah, for sure, man. He certainly has. He markets his show as like more of an entertainment late night kind of show, but they go live at 10 in the morning. I couldn't understand that for the longest time, but then I realized later that all of the late night shows are like that. They all air, or they record early in the day, and then they air at night. So that gives editors a chance to doctor things and make sure everything's right before they go live. Just bear that in the back of your mind when you start thinking about people like Jimmy Kimmel. But it is getting on 4 o'clock, so I think I'm gonna have to cut it here. I had one more thing that I wanted to cover before we got to the 2-hour mark, but I'm just not. We just ran out of time. I'm sorry. I had a lot of pushback on the Steven Crowder interview there. But definitely check this out from Matt Christensen as well. He goes into a deep dive on the data that the left is using to try to justify this whole the right wing is the source of political violence in the country, which is completely just asininely wrong. It couldn't be more objectively wrong. And Matt, like I say, does a deep dive on the data and the way they assemble it. It's completely twisted. You know, there's so many things that should be considered political violence on the left that don't even get counted in this. There's things that they say are right-wing political violence that aren't even remotely related to achieving socioeconomic or political gains. And so it's all cherry-picked bullshit data. It truly is. So if anybody mentions to you the CSIS study, right, or the Cato Institute study, both of those are, fallaciously coming to the conclusion that right-wing violence is the source of most of it, when in reality, nothing could be further from the truth. So, just making shit up. Right. ADL is like a given, right? Of course they are. But I saw a meme the other day, and I almost took it seriously, man. It was that the ADL has labeled period as a hate speech symbol, right? I think Elon Musk just posted a period, just a character, period. And somebody, just playing fun was like, oh, the ADL labeled that a racist dog whistle. I was like, and for a moment, I fucking believed it. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And I looked on the ADL website. But that was a troll. The ADL did not do that. But that just goes to show you how ridiculous they are. Is that some meme like that could convince you, because they are so ridiculously out of the box with what they'll say is a right-wing fucking dog whistle. So okay, well, did I get 700 subscribers? Is that what I needed when I started? I don't think I did. Besides, I think there's an approval process in order to get to a certain level with YouTube before I can actually do a raid. But let's take a look here. We got Cool Vic is live. That sounds like a good one, I guess. Yeah, let's shoot for Cool Vic. And you all definitely check out Only a Mr. Bill if you haven't yet. So, but for now, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Mr. Bill is live. So he's down at the ICE facility right now.
With the gas, you can. Not drifting. I'm
going to send you all over here to Mr. Bill. Definitely check him out and pray for his safety tonight. I hope he turns in before dark. Usually shit gets completely out of hand after dark or around midnight.
I am the news.
Send Mr. Bill some well wishes, and
the news is my middle name, but
and your prayers for his safety and all. Oh goodness sakes!
I like that, Mr. News.
And in the meantime, I will see you all in the next one, man. So I'm gonna link Mr. Bill's channel in here. We're gonna do a ghetto raid of Mr. Bill. Definitely head over there and give him your best and tell him who sent you. Thanks y'all for hanging out. I will see you again on, if not tomorrow, Wednesday. We are doing D&D at 10 o'clock. Hopefully we will be finishing up Campaign 2. So come check us out for that, please. And I will see you all then on the next one. All right. Cheers, y'all. Salute.
The other kind of wrenches, but not the stainless steel ones. Here are the...
Oh. Stop what, Emmett? What's up? Did you want to, I don't know. When is what? The second campaign is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. Yeah. You know that. That's been our scheduled time for a few weeks now. You only need 200 more subs. I do? Oh. Right, 500. Right, I forgot. Well, still. Y'all like and subscribe. Tell your wife, tell your kids. I need more subs. Anyway, I'm gonna head out. Y'all head over to Mr. Bill. Like I say, give me your best. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.